Hello everybody, I'm back here with a very quick live stream. I wanted to show you something I've been working on and off for a good period of time. And that is a clone of the Sonic the Hedgehog engine using only JavaScript, HTML5, and a smidgen of jQuery. I started working on this a couple of semesters ago. Problem is, I lost my flash drive with the progress I had made, so I had to start all over again. So this is a very early build. There is no animation and very limited functionality. So Sonic will run, like you can see all the stats on the side of the screen here, including how many frames have elapsed so far. I haven't gotten camera positions and stuff working yet, so please disregard that camera X position thing right here. So Sonic will walk and run, he'll jump, and if you release the jump button, he will have his jump cut off, just like in the Sega Genesis game. And if you go underwater, let's see this, his physics change, and when you transition from above to underwater, yeah, collisions are obviously not perfect, but you will also have the physics change. If you go to the bottom of the map and you don't have level wrapping, he'll die. And if you stay underwater too long, I believe I set it in this for 1800 frames. Then he'll drown. Let's see. Here's a demonstration of that. And he dies. I also imperfectly got bumpers working. Ding, ping, ping. Whoops. And I say imperfectly because you can get stuck in them still. Whoops. I think there's just a logic error there. And so I'm going to go into detail briefly about this. I'll show you. So here you have the physics set that Sonic uses for moving. And let me see if I can get object, playable, Sonic. He has a set of physics: acceleration, deceleration, rolling deceleration, friction, rolling friction, top speed, rolling top speed, jump velocity, release velocity, air acceleration, gravity. He has sets for when he's normal conditions except underwater, when Sonic has his speed shoes, when Sonic is supersonic above water, and when Sonic is supersonic underwater. And the default value, and this is a value, this is variable, holds the current set of physics. When Sonic transitions to being super or not being super, being above water, underwater, etc., what is swapped is which set of physics current physics is currently holding. It certainly would make the movement a lot easier. Here I have the speed variables: x speed, y speed, ground speed, and yes, I used the Sonic Retro Sonic Physics Guide, and I continue to use the Sonic Retro Sonic Physics Guide to help me along in this quest. Now, for movement, I have a move function. It takes a value the movement mode. So Sonic's movement modes, value 0 through 5. Death, floor movement, left wall, right wall, ceiling mode, and flying through the air. And the move function here actually acts as a junction. It'll take the value of move mode for the Sonic object and use that to go and branch off to different functions for each type of movement. Here's the move dead. Here's movement on the floor. Here's a lot of unimplemented stuff. Here's movement in the air. Here's Sonic jumping. I made a generic jump function that handles jumping, as well as a function that handles cutting the jump short, and a kill function that will take in a variable as well as the player object for the number of lives and whatnot, and the death type being a normal death or drowning. And note that all this does is adjust Sonic's X speed, Y speed, and movement mode. The death function, the death movement, all it does is add to the Y speed. It doesn't do anything else. And now we have check flags, which will check if Sonic's underwater. If I do a modulus here with 1800, and if there's no remainder, and frames underwater is not equal to 0 because 1800 modulus 0 will have no remainder, then you'll drown Sonic. If not, you'll just increment how many frames Sonic is kept underwater. Now note that if Sonic is underwater has to be true for it to increment, and when you transition from underwater to above water, Sonic, that counter will reset completely, which makes perfect sense. I mean, you don't suddenly become close to drowning and then stay that close to drowning when you go out of the water. That would be ridiculous. So another part I'm still having some trouble with is tile collision, as you could see. Right here, that's fine. That is kind of okay. Now this is not. You see Sonic kind of flops into the tile. Then if I, whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. If I jump, Sonic goes into this tile here. I think maybe part of it is that my sensor position is not correct. Maybe I need to adjust the number, like the position of my sensors, and just wanted to make sure I was still streaming because YouTube's being a pain in my ass again. I'm sorry. So come on, YouTube, don't be stupid. Alright, I'm gonna keep going because I am streaming. So here, objects, you can see my layout is very meticulous, or at least I try to make it very, very meticulous. Here I have graphics. Here's the stuff from when I was just doing early tests. And here I have the object graphics, and I sort them by playable objects, items, and hazards. Tile sets I have right here. Sound, I have music and sound effects. I have the Sonic the Hedgehog 1 sound effects. And wait, music, I have the BIOS for the Mega CD. I don't have any means of playing it, but I also have folders for each individual level. And each level will have a part that loops, And if it has an opening part that does not loop, it will also have an opening part. For my resources over here, I have level data and level attributes. That's what this stands for. Level width, level height, if X wrapping is enabled, and if Y wrapping is enabled. Of course, I could also do stuff for what music it loads and all that. Audio resources, graphic resources, tile map resources. We'll keep track of the paths for all these files. Alright, here we have the tile maps for a level, and I made 3 planes. That is the background, which of course have zeros, all zeros. Here's the foreground with the tile collisions that you actually interact with. And here's the foreground plane B, which includes the foreground tiles that cover up Sonic as if you're walking into a cavern, as well as special tiles like transitioning from above and underwater. And over here, I should put this in somewhere else, but this shows what the tile values are supposed to be. 0 is completely blank. 0, 0, 1 to 199 are foreground tiles, so you have 198 foreground tiles. You have from 200 to 299, so you have 99 background tiles. I think I'll change that later on. And then 300s to 399 will be special tiles. Actually, what I think I'm going to do is change this so each area that is not the 0, 0, 0 will have at least 200 values to work with. I don't know if anyone will need all 200 values for 200 foreground, 200 backgrounds, and 200 special tiles, but it's always good to have flexibility, I think. So when I change this, it will go from 0, 0, 0 is empty. Well, that will stay. So it'll be 100 to 300. Then I'll figure that out later. But I'll give each category 200 tiles to work with for increased flexibility. So here I have objects I've started working on, and yes, my project is called JSonic, if you haven't noticed. And I have stationary spike objects with my very early version of this. Here, I can show you. I'll show you my earliest version of this. Game loops and collisions, I call it. The code is such a goddamn mess. The tile collision, believe it or not, is even worse in this. If I have sound effects and some form of animation going. You can see it is just the way I have it working. I think it is far from the most efficient way, and you can see the lagging I'm getting here after a while with certain things. But luckily for me, the objects themselves are not changing much at all, so I can easily adapt what I've already made here, and works right, because I have objects here that I've implemented but not correctly. For example, the bumpers here do not work correctly at all, versus what I showed you in my previous attempt at building this. Let me just give you a better See, no matter which direction you hit it, you will get bumped the same direction. It's so stupid, but I figured that out. And in this incarnation, I actually made the drowning handled by a special object as opposed to a layer of tile map, which I realized would not be very efficient. Let's see. Oh, do I have spikes too? But at least I made it so when you hit the rings, you'll just destroy the correct one. I don't know why it's not doing. Oh, there we go. So I'll have to. But I want to implement some of these objects again, and that will be very easy. But the purpose in showing you this was just showing you how, in many ways, the movement has improved and everything. You see, one thing I did not put into this version of it that I have now is control locks. Certain objects will lock the controls. There's a value in Sonic that decrements, and when that is 0, it's 0, and you can move again, but while it's not 0, you can't. Which means, for example, in Sonic the Hedgehog 1, if you were in debug mode, so spikes didn't kill you, and you hit a pair of spikes next to each other like this, you would not be able to move at all. You wouldn't even be able to go into debug mode to get out of it, which is a problem, obviously. But it also, this frame lock thing that I've implemented in my latest version will enable me to be able to implement things like the transport tubes in Metropolis and Chemical Plant Zone of Sonic 2, for example, and Scrap Brain Zone's transport tubes. And in a way that is actually very simple. I think right now, I already got an idea on how to do that. Have it so the center of Sonic, because here I have a midpoint. I have two widths and two heights because Sonic's heights and widths are not constant. And I have the current width and current height that changes, and that information is used to recalculate the midpoint of Sonic, and that midpoint is used to derive Sonic's horizontal sensors as well as his floor sensors A and B and his ceiling sensors C and D. The midpoint can also be used for certain object collisions, which I will use for the transport objects. The actual objects that handle his collisions, the pipes themselves, will be plane B tiles, I think. Maybe later I will get back. I'll finish doing a stream. I'll do a stream and where I'm working on this, because it would be cool to show off how I think things through and get input at the same time as I'm doing this, because you rarely ever are able to do things like this on your own without some help, and I've had a lot of help in the Sonic Retro community in putting up with my questions on interpreting the Sonic Physics Guide. And although they don't know that it's because I'm making a JavaScript Sonic the Hedgehog engine, they probably think I'm using C or C++ or something else like it, and OpenGL and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, this is the camera that's in op right now. I hope I would do the live streaming right now, but I have to head out. One, to go to the gym because I am beginning my training to get into shape to join the Iona College rugby team. I'm hoping to get into shape to be able to play as a wing, which is a very fast-paced, very exciting position on the team. And also have to do some stuff. But later tonight, I will be back, and I will be live streaming my efforts to continue refining this game engine to make it work. If you haven't, you can check out my other YouTube channel, which is the Road to Rugby Fitness. I have to finish working on my blog for that, my latest blog post. One other thing before I go, because I demonstrated the other revision of this engine, but I didn't show you something that I'm having trouble with in this version in the latest version. You see right here, Sonic, if I hit left and right, Sonic does not just fly off the handle unlike this. Whoops, I don't know why that happened. So whoops, it's only when I go from left to right. Oh, yeah, when I go from left to right, Sonic kind of boomerangs. When I go from right to left, he does not boomerang, which is really puzzling because I did not have that problem before. Maybe it's just a simple logic error, but I will figure that out later on. For now, I really have to go, but I will see y'all later. I will be on later live streaming this work on my game engine. So, see you later.